Hey guys, welcome to the second part of the interview with the photographer and the legend, Nick Prideaux. I hope you enjoy it. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go, here we go, here we go. Here we go. All right, how would you say that your photography has evolved over the years? Again, something you've touched on.
Yep.
How's it changed over the years? And actually, that was the question I was going to ask you first. What's the camera that you're using at the moment?
So the majority of the photos I take is with the model. It's a Konica Hexa, which is a camera that I bought a few years ago in Thailand, actually, about 5 years ago, maybe. But the majority of my work is shot with this one camera. Another one that I use, I know that Hitomi uses one as well. It's a Contax T2.
T2, yeah.
Very popular camera. And also, funnily enough, actually, thanks to Kylie Jenner and Frank Ocean, who both shoot with that camera now is incredibly expensive. So a camera that I bought 7 years ago, I think, in Tokyo, for about 40,000 yen, I guess.
40,000 yen.
40,000 yen, I think now is probably worth, I don't know, about 4 or 5 times that.
Are you kidding me?
No, you could sell a Contax T2 for a lot of money now. It's incredibly sought after camera.
It's a great camera. It's really, really good. I have like a Mini Lux, which I bought in Firenze, Florence, and it was like some limited edition. It has snake skin, but the viewfinder is ridiculously small. If you're wearing glasses, that's it. Game over, mate. You're not taking any pictures. It's so small, and it's really loud. Whereas the Contax T2, when Hitomi uses it, it's just this smooth. Whereas the Mini Lux, the Leica is like, and if you're trying to take a candid picture of someone, like some street photography, even if it's in the middle of a carnival and there's music going off, they'll be like, "Did you just take a picture of me?" Yeah, I don't know how you heard it through all this music. I was hoping it would drown out the sound of my camera. It's an amazing camera. I didn't know that Kylie Jenner and who else uses it?
Kylie Jenner and Frank Ocean.
Frank Ocean
documented using these cameras. Also Drake, I think. Drake was seen using this camera. So it's very in vogue at the moment. So yes, those are 2 cameras that I shoot a lot of my work on. But generally though, the cameras that I use, I like them simple. I like them easy to use. I like, I think for me, I've never been drawn to the technical aspects of cameras. I just like cameras that feel good and then I feel comfortable using. And so they are 2 cameras I've been using for a number of years that seem to produce images that I like.
Okay. Are there any other cameras that you recommend for for photographers who may want to dabble in film?
Yes. So, I mean, look, if you wanted to shoot manually with a film camera, probably one of the best cameras you can buy it's a Canon AE1, which is a really classic, beautiful manual SLR, and a lot of film photographers use this. It's one camera. Personally, I haven't used it myself, but I've seen the results that it can produce, and it's a beautiful camera. And the best thing about it is that they're relatively cheap nowadays. So I think you could probably buy one for maybe $100 or $150 or 10,000 yen or something. They're very, very ubiquitous. You can find them everywhere. So I would recommend that one. That's a great camera.
Okay. How would you say that going back to your photography now? Thank you for the guides on cameras. But how would you say your photography has evolved over the years? Going back to that question.
Yeah, so I think that probably one of the biggest things I think was that a few years ago, I was actually shooting a lot of images that had flash in it. Actually, I was really like obsessed with taking flash images, and I think that at some point I just said, right, you know what, I need to really start taking photos using natural light. This is something that I want to do, and something that I want to kind of try to master. And
can I just ask you, why were you so obsessed with flash? Was it like because of like Terry Richardson or something?
Yeah, so there was a period probably around like the late 2000s to like, you know, mid, I don't know, 2012, 13, something, where everyone was shooting with flash because it was just extremely a la mode. And so photographers like Terry Richardson, photographer that I still really love, Ren Hang, he was shooting a lot of flash. It was just that aesthetic was extremely popular. And so I remember having these series of little compact cameras that I just only shoot flash with. And then at some point, I decided, right, okay, I've got to do something different. And I've got to look at different subjects as well. And I think that's probably what changed the most, is that I was starting to shoot much more situations with natural light. And so I was like, right, this is my main character in my images now. This is what I want to use. And so that was probably one of the biggest shifts in how I guess started to take different images. But I think that, you know, if your question is how has my work changed? I think it's that you're perhaps not drawn to different things, but you're just drawn to taking images in a different way. Because I think the worst thing that you can feel as an artist is that you're in a cyclical nature, that you're doing the same thing again and again and again. And I think perhaps when I look at my images now, I mean, they are similar to images that I took a few years ago, but there's something taken out, you know. So I think it's like this, you know, I think about that. There's a classic Picasso painting, you know, when he was doing these single line images, you know, they're very, very famous. And I think one of them is on a buffalo. And the first photo is this incredibly in-depth image that's one, like very, very detailed. And then it's this, slowly each image becomes simpler and simpler. And then in the end, it's one single line, but it's still a buffalo. It's still there. It's still, you know exactly what it is. And I think it's kind of somewhat like that. I think as an artist, you've got to kind of, I think you've got a central theme that you work within, but for me, it's kind of like almost becomes simpler and simpler. You're kind of taking things out of it. You know, when I look at my images a few years ago, they seem really busy and seem really, there's too much in it. But I think there's a subtraction now that when I look at my work, there's perhaps a little bit more clarity, I feel.
Okay.
So I feel maybe that's probably how it's changed.
Oh, nice. What for you? You've mentioned a few photographers now. You've mentioned like Ren Hang, William Eggleston, Wolfgang Tillmans, and for you, these photographers, like you like these photographers. You've mentioned their photography. What makes a good picture stand out for you?
That's a great question. That is a great question. I mean, I think that the photographers that I've mentioned, I mean, I think stylistically they are different in their own respects, but I think there is probably what's interesting to me is that they have captured something that perhaps I wouldn't have seen or I wouldn't have noticed. So I think that the photographers that I really admire they kind of pull back this curtain on this world that you didn't really know existed, you know. And so when I think about, for example, looking at William Eggleston's work, I remember seeing one of his books for the first time, and it was like hearing a language you'd never heard of and just being incredibly fascinated by it. It was like you didn't really understand it, but you'd hear it and go like, wow, it sounds so beautiful. It was like looking at images like that. It was like, wow, like that's something that I had not seen before. So, you know, and I think that's it. It's just that there's something in the image to me that is like perhaps a really mundane scene, you know, or something that seems so ordinary or so everyday, pedestrian, that they've managed to draw something out of that moment and create something really special, you know. So I think a lot of the photographers that I admire have that skill to be able to do that.
Take something which is quite mundane, quite ordinary, and transform it into something extraordinary.
Exactly.
Or just highlight how extraordinary it actually is.
Yeah, that's it. And I think that's to have that skill to be able to do that, I think is something that all photographers, you know, would really are searching for, is to just be able to pull that out and be able to see the world in that way, I think is something really special. So, yeah, and you know, when I go to, you know, a gallery or when I, you know, open a photo book or something, it's just, there's that aspect there that it's there is something in it that perhaps is they've managed to pull out of a moment.
So who were your biggest influences when you started out?
So look, when I first started, I mean, a lot of Japanese photographers to me are extremely interesting. So, I mean, Araki obviously was a big one. I mean, his work is expansive and incredible, and he's worked in so many different ways and styles. So, I mean, he was a big influence at the beginning. I guess another Japanese street photographer, Daido Moriyama. His black and white work, his street photography was around Shinjuku was really huge to me. And I mean, this is at the time when I was living in Japan, and also when I was a little bit more interested in taking photos out on the street. So I don't do it so much anymore. But you know, when I first got to Tokyo, that's kind of where my inspiration came from. And then as I said, like Ren Hang was another big one. His work, and also another really fantastic Japanese photographer called Rinko Kawauchi.
Okay.
Her work is phenomenal as well. So I think those were 4 photographers that come to mind that, you know, at the beginning there was something there that really kind of clicked with me. Yeah.
And like now, do you still find that you need influences, like external influences in terms of other photographers? Or do you feel like I found my style now, I found my visual identity? I look at other photographers' work because I love photography, but there's not much that I want to take from these photographers? Or are you constantly updating your photography and like constantly changing your style?
So I think, you know, you can't stay still, right? And you've got to keep looking. You've got to, you know, looking for other sources of inspiration, and you've got to keep looking at, I think, how other people are using photography and taking images. So, you know, I'm always looking, you know, at photographers on Instagram. You know, I try and go to, of course, photo shops in Paris and look at books and see kind of what new photographers are making images and things. So I think that yeah, again, it's kind of going back to that curiosity. And I think this is the job of an artist, right? You've just got to, draw inspiration from everywhere. And that's not only just in photography. I watch a lot of film and, read a lot of books and look at other ways that I can be inspired to make images. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of, it's, I think the hardest thing as well is that you're so close to your work, and especially, it's so personal that it's hard to kind of draw back and look at it in a bigger frame and look at everything. But it's only when I perhaps scroll back through my Instagram over the years that I go, oh yeah, like this has changed, or I don't do this anymore, and this is what I'm doing now, kind of thing. But yeah, no, like I'm constantly looking for inspiration. I think the saddest thing is that if you lose that thirst, if you lose that excitement of being inspired by something, that's when you start to stop making your own work. So yeah, you've got to keep going.
Yeah. And do you ever look back at your past posts, your Instagram, your past work?
Yeah.
And you think, oh crap, that looks really, really good. Oh my God, why don't I go back to that? Because I sometimes go back and I look at myself from a few years ago with a different hairstyle. I'm like, oh man, you look so good, Sham. Why don't you go back to that?
Yeah.
Do you ever feel like that? Not about yourself, but about your photography?
Yes, sometimes, not so often. I think I've gotten to a point where I look at my work now and I'm happy with what I'm doing now, as opposed to, but I don't know, but maybe that's another thing, is that it's a thing that you look back at your old work and go, oh gosh, like what was I doing? It's maybe your own worst critic, so less so. But I think that I guess what I do miss is that there's things that I look at older work where there's an innocence to your work, that I think that I try not to lose, but it's hard, your eye changes, as in like what you're taking photos of and things. So I look at older images, there's a kind of, for me, there's a more youthful carelessness in it, which I wish I could pull back a little bit into my own work now. You know what I mean? It felt, I guess my older photos seem a little bit more raw, a little bit more, just straight out of the camera kind of thing. So yeah, there's elements, sure, that I look at and go, oh yeah, but no.
Basically no. This is pretty much, I'm getting better and better every single time. Screwed up.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, it serves as that reminder about, like where you've come from, right? So that's always a nice feeling to have.
Okay. Next, I want to ask you about a few of your favorite photos which you've taken. Do you have a few favorites of your own in your own collection?
Yes. Yeah. Sure. Actually, it was one I mentioned before. I don't know why, but it's because I remember the exact moment I took it. It's an image of my partner Matilda holding a glass of soda, and this was taken in our old apartment in Utenji in Tokyo. And I remember it was just one of those photos. As soon as I got it back, I was like, yeah, like if I could just keep taking photos like that, I would be, you know what I mean? Like if I could just do that like every single time, I would be forever happy with my photography. And
it's like a hole-in-one kind of thing.
Yeah, it is. That's a good analogy, actually. And so that's really one of my favorite images. And also because I don't know, I just remember the time and I remember the afternoon, and it's very it kind of sticks with me, that image, and I just remember the feeling of getting that back. And it's just one of my favorites. Very simple, but I love the light and I love the mood that it kind of evokes, I guess.
Oh man, it's beautiful. I mean, even just the bubbles in that soda water and everything. I know the picture that you're talking about. You don't even have to say, the soda water. What? You took a picture of soda? No, I know exactly the picture, and it is quite memorable. Like the light and the way it interacts with the glass is fantastic.
Yeah, and it's funny because I've sold a few prints of that image to various people, and a friend of mine actually bought this who's in London, and she said, I just love this image, and she's got it framed actually next to her desk. And I said, oh, why do you like it? Like, just that, because I'm always curious to see, of course, why people like certain images. She's like, you know what? Every time I look at it, it reminds me that I have to drink more water. and I thought, you know what? I'm happy. Like, that's a great answer. You know, if an image can evoke you, if it can motivate you to do that, like, my job is done. So I thought that was a really beautiful response to why you like it. So if I can, you know, if I can do that, that's, yeah, my job as an artist is done.
I thought it was she's going to say, I just really like soda water.
Yeah,
I just have so many pictures of soda water on my desk. So you are massive on Instagram. We're running out of time, so I just want to steam through this a little bit quickly. You're massive on Instagram, absolutely huge. You're like, my gosh, man. I remember like in Tokyo, you had like about 10,000 followers and it was getting larger and larger, and now it's kind of ballooned. It's nuts. What is the best advice you can give to, first, what is the best advice you can give to an Instagram photographer, someone who wants to try and make it on Instagram?
Yeah, so like, look, to be perfectly honest, like with Instagram, so Instagram's a funny thing, you know, I love and hate it. Like I think Instagram has enabled me to have an audience that I would not have achieved before, which is really wonderful. Also, like, really incredibly, like, I can't stress it enough that numbers on and the amount of followers and things on Instagram is such a not a hoax, but it's incredible, like, so not important, because there are so many talented people that aren't even on, you know, this application, that are taking incredible photos. And, you know, a lot of my favorite photographers have, you know, a very small number of followers. So first and foremost, a number is just a thing. But I mean, probably one of the bigger things with when I first started sharing stuff on Instagram was that I started to follow accounts that would more or less kind of curate in a way that images that I really liked. And so some of those accounts are still around. I mean, this is, you know, probably, gosh, maybe 7 or 8 years ago, like, some of them are still online, but those types of accounts that can take your work, you can email their work, or you can use their hashtag or things. Those are really great ways to get exposure. So some of the first really, I guess, how to say, movements, I guess, in my own Instagram journey were assisted by like accounts that would repost my work. So that was a huge thing that kind of helped me along. So, you know, part of, you know, that when I initially was on Instagram was seeking those accounts out and going, hey, do you like my work? Do you think you can repost it? So I was really adamant about sending my portfolio or sending a selection of images to these accounts, even to blogs or websites, to say, hey, look, this is what I do. This is my work. Do you think you could share it? So that was really helpful. But I mean, nowadays it is huge, Instagram, and there is so much noise on Instagram that it can be hard to get yourself out there through it. But I still attest that, you know, if you've got something worth sharing, if you've got images that truly say something that truly capture something special, that will come through all that white noise and it'll start to gain its own traction. But also the other advice is that if your idea of going on Instagram is to get more followers, then you really shouldn't be on it just for that. You should first and foremost be on there to share your work and to give it its own kind of platform where people can look at it and comment on it and be able to experience it, you know. So that's got to be your main motivation, is that you just want to share it and have other people see it, rather than how many people are following you.
Yeah. Okay. One our final question. I think we're gonna have a final question. I wanted to ask you some more, but I'm running out of time, mate.
Yeah.
It's been fantastic. Is there anything you want to? This is a question actually for you. Well, I know they've all been for you, but like this is there anything that you want to share with our 7 listeners? is there anything you want to share, like anything you want to plug, or any kind of way that they can support you, or any kind of work that you've got being published, or any way they can support you?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a great question. I mean, look, you probably, if you're listening or if you're watching this on YouTube, I guess you can follow me on Instagram to see my work. So you can see my name, it's Prideaux on Instagram. I mean, is there something that I want to say? I mean, no, I mean, if you're a fan of my work, send me an email, send me a message, say hello, introduce yourself. You know, I love seeing messages from people around the world. I love talking to people. And if you've got questions that perhaps I haven't touched on in this chat, please feel free to ask me and write me a message on Instagram or send me an email. I mean, I have had a book that has been in the works for some time now, and we've experienced incredible amount of delays with it. And with, of course, the current nature of the world and with COVID and everything, we've had a huge delay to it. But I'm really, really hoping that we can get it out at this stage. I think it's probably realistic that'll be early next year. So if and when that comes out, keep an eye out for my book. Anyone?
So you just cut out a little
that's
bit.
it.
So keep an eye out for your book and
keep an eye out for my book. Yeah. So I'm hoping it'll be early 2021. I'll of course update my Instagram, and I'll have it on my website available for sale. Yeah.
And your Instagram is basically at it's just Prideaux, Prideaux.
Thank you. That's it.
Yeah, man. Drop him a follow. And while you're at it, I hope you're following us on it. That's the question. Why aren't you following us?
That's a great question, mate. I didn't even know that you had an Instagram account. So
I ought to slap your ass. That's what I should do. Yeah, I will be sure to.
I'm going to follow. I've got my phone right in front of me.
No, I'm playing, dude. You don't need any English lessons from me, so it's cool. Nick, thank you very much for your time. That was really, really good, and I hope you come back and do it again soon.
Absolutely, Sham. Thank you for having me. It was an absolute pleasure.
Oh wait, I have a surprise. Hitomi, can you bring yourselves? Yeah, come. No, just come. For our listeners, I'm currently just showing Leo to Nick, to Leo's real father. I make that joke every single time.
Hi, Leo.
Hello.
Konnichiwa.
Hello.
Hi. Hello. Oh, he's so cute.
All right, I'll show you a little bit after we finish recording.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Sham. Thank you.
All right, we'll see you next time.